Ukraine, independent from the Soviet Union since 1991. In communist times, being born with a disability meant you would more than likely spend your whole life in an institution. That still happens today. More children live in state care in Ukraine than anywhere else in Europe. A third have a disability.
You cannot really say how bad they are until you see them, until you are there, because these are dark places.
I'm Nikki Fox and I'm in Ukraine to find out what life is like for the thousands of disabled children that live in institutions just like this one.
I'm very embarrassed. 750 institutions. It's a huge number.
Legally, parents can leave their disabled child in a state-run institution, and it's encouraged. But some families choose instead to fight to keep their children.
10 років в тій нашій країні щось докажеш, зб'єшся.
Now the government wants all institutions closed. But what will happen to those who have only known this kind of life? Hidden away in the Ukrainian countryside, where the nearest town is 60 kilometres away. This is where 86 disabled men and boys live. I've been given access to this government-run institution, a place so many don't see. There's little routine, and many of those living here aren't clean. There's just not enough staff here to look after everyone. Abuse and self-harm happens in places like these. So green paint is used to help staff keep track of injuries. For most, this is all they've ever known. In this tiny room, I meet Yuri. He's 15 years old. Even though he has a family, he's lived at this orphanage since he was 4. There are just 12 orphans here. The rest have families. Loved ones they rarely see.
How long have some of the kids or adults been here?
The nurse tells me that this man has been here for 20 years. She says he's 32. Even at this age, they're still seen as children. Volodymyr, the man who runs this place, was keen for me to see how they're working with the boys.
Dobry den! Dobry den! These are really lovely. We've been making these.
Ми розробили свої програми певні, щоб дітки могли працювати.
I was also shown a singing lesson with volunteers. I'm told it's a way of improving communication, but activities are sporadic. Another room paints a very different picture. This is the reality for so many disabled people who live in institutions.
There'll be some people that will see the film, they'll think this is not the right situation for anyone to live in.
По-перше, ми працюємо, стараємося виконувати свою роботу. Я знаю, що така економічна ситуація, є такі факти на Україні, що краще все-таки дітки знаходились в такому закладі, де є тепло, де є їжа, де є люди, які люблять дітей і з дітьми дивляться. Ну і напевно ще хочу сказати те, що ми, суспільство, не можемо відмовитися від таких людей. І про них все-таки ми повинні думати про них, щоб їм було якнайкраще.
Emotions are everywhere really when you're inside. It really hits you. It really hits you. And one minute I was incredibly sad, the next minute I was being hugged by someone and I was, smiling. It's nothing like I've ever experienced before.
Across Ukraine, there are more than 100,000 children in institutions. It's estimated around 90% have families. Like Andrei, his mother Tatiana was told an orphanage was the best place for him because he has cerebral palsy. Did you feel like you were forced to make that decision to have to give Andrew away?
І ми поїхали в обласну лікарню, і нам сказали, що є такі на даний момент на Україні заклади, котрі займаються з такими дітками. Ну, ми їм довірились на всі 100%. Вони нам наобіцяли, що все буде добре, буду з дитиною працювати, масаж, все буде хорошо.
But the reality was very different. Pining for his mother, Andrew became seriously ill. Instead of taking him to hospital, staff at the institution just left him in a room to die.
Ну, мені кажеться, якби я не побачила, що там йому буде погано, я б його не віддала. Я їм довірилася, просто довірилася.
And how does that make you feel?
Погано почувала, тому що тяжко було, важко. Щоночі плачу. Просто, не знаю, важко. Знаючи, що він десь там, і я не можу його, молода жінка, не дати йому того, що може дати місто, може дати більш розвинутіше, я ж кажу, люди, в яких є все це все. А я не можу, тому що нема змоги.
Tatiana lives in a remote village with no support or services her son needs. Because of this, she felt she had no choice but to give him up. Closer to the capital, I meet a group of parents who have built up their own services.
Larissa, Nikki.
Дуже приємно. Запрошую, Нікі.
A small centre providing essential care, offering families the support they need to keep their children at home. As I'm shown around, I meet young people with some of the most complex needs.
Oh, hello.
They learn ways of communicating, and there are plenty of fully trained staff on hand to look after each child.
Для Паші це його життя. Це його життя, це його оточення, діти, друзі, так? Інші люди, педагоги дорослі, з якими вчиться спілкуватись.
Not only does Sasha come to this centre to help her son develop, it also gives her a break.
Can you imagine what your life would be like if Pasha wasn't able to come here?
Ой, не знаю. Нам в нашій країні запропонували лише домашнє навчання, ну і відвідини якихось там занять там соціально-психологічному центрі. Я не знаю. Ну, ми завжди в зоні дійсно ризику, тому що держава поки що наша не дбає про таких дітей, поки що в нас зароджується інклюзія.
When Sasha gave birth to her son, she was told to leave him in an orphanage and have a healthy child. Despite such pressure, she refused to give him up. But it's taken its toll.
10 років в тій нашій країні щось доказуєш, щось б'єшся.
It gets tiring, doesn't it? Yeah. This place can only do so much. Sasha is still battling against the widely held belief that here, disabled children are not able to live a normal life. But there is some hope. Ukraine is changing, and there is now the political will to make sure childhoods are no longer spent hidden away from society. Nikolai Kaleba is a man with a difficult task.
I want to have this as a national program for family.
He's heading up the government's radical reforms to close all institutions, eradicating a system that has been in place for nearly a century.
I'm very embarrassed because 750 institutions allow Ukraine, and it's a huge number. More than 100,000 children live in institutions. More of them have families, but because these families can't give enough support, they gave their children to this institution. They never have seen a city, they never have seen a train, they never have seen a market. Every day, nothing happened. That's why it's about hope. It's about hope. They have no hope.
A change in the law will help give these children and their families more rights.
It's time for reform, and reform for children with disabilities means we will support the family, we will give opportunity to stay at home and to have enough services to live normal life.
One thing that has already changed, a new law that means all schools in Ukraine must teach disabled students.
Добрий день. Or привіт. Привіт. I'm almost Ukrainian.
In the secondary school in Kiev, Artem is one of a small number of disabled pupils who can now take part in lessons with other children. And he loves it.
На Валентина Іванівни день народження. Куди ходили? У Маша і ведмідь. Що таке Маша і ведмідь? Це кафе.
Ну, для дитини це, напевно, саме важливо, те, що відбулося в його житті цьому. Тому що раніше він не бачив ні дітей, нічого, він сидів вдома, в садочок ми не могли змогу ходити, тобто у нас не пристосовані садочки для таких дітей. Тобі подобається до школи ходити? Йому дуже подобається, і навіть я от вже казав, що для нього саме більше наказання, що це не піти до школи. Тобто, якщо він десь провинився, я йому кажу, будеш так себе вести, я тебе не поведу до школи, і все, дитина змінюється. Тобто для нього це дуже важливо, він спілкується, діти, це для нього дуже важливо.
The main challenge for Artem is getting to his classes. The school has tried to be more accessible, but he has to rely on his dad to get him round.
How much do you love school, Artem? Give me a smile. There it is.
Покажи клас. Так, давай.
So many families here don't have that support. They don't have any support. So you have a child, your child has a disability, you've got to get your head around that. And then you've got to find out, well, how am I going to best look after my child? And part of that is education. And because with that comes social interaction and all those wonderful things that we probably all take for granted. So for the families, no one's going to want their kid to miss out on that. No one's really going to want their kid to go into an institution.
While I've been in Ukraine, I've spent time in an orphanage more than 3 hours' drive from the capital Kiev. Now I've been given access to another state-run institution that's much closer. It's a home for girls and women up to the age of 32. And it feels very different. In every room, there are activities going on, from dancing to sewing. Everyone here is engaged.
1, 2, ready?
These young people have a range of different disabilities, and even though the majority have parents, this is their home. Under the government's new reforms, institutions like this one will close, but there is strong resistance from many who run them.
Я так думаю, що закривати не потрібно. Такі інституції мають жити. Не всі батьки розуміють, що робити з такими дітьми. Як правило, це неповні сім'ї, і потрібно батькам якось заробляти гроші, на що жити. Тому наші установи – це як допомога батькам жити більш якісно.
Do you accept that there are other institutions very different from your one, and the conditions are, could be seen as a lot worse?
Нехай до нас приїздять, ми покажемо, навчимо, і вони будуть працювати так, як ми.
Do you think it's okay that a child could be in an institution for the whole of their life?
Справа в тому, що якщо у такої дитини є розумова відсталість і психічні захворювання, вона не може жити сама. Ви бачили наших дівчаток? Хтось може розмовляти, а багато з них просто не розмовляють. Як вони можуть жити самі?
But not all of Elena's residents agree with her. Dasha is 20 years old. She came here when she was 12.
Я тут все делали, и помогали, и за детьми помогали смотреть.
She spends her time performing and reciting poetry, which she's able to do here. But Dasha doesn't want this place to be her life.
Do you imagine you'll stay here for a long time? Would you like to leave one day if you could?
The lady that runs this place is pretty adamant that she does not think institutions should be closed. She said something that we've all been thinking, you know, what is going to happen to these kids? These kids have got various disabilities, some very complex. It's all very well saying let's close these places, but what is there? What will be their life after?
When I'm talking about reforming institutional care system, people asking me, what about children with severe disability? You will never do something for them. People can't imagine that in the other countries these children can live normal life. And we want to build small group homes. We want to develop alternative care for these children.
There are no easy answers. Many disabled children and adults will need some kind of residential care. But this will take time and money. I visited 2 very different orphanages, but there are hundreds across Ukraine, with many thousands of disabled children.
I would not expect him to live for such a long time.
So there's no rehabilitation.
The neglect many experience in care was highlighted in a report by the charity Disability Rights International, published in 2015. They visited dozens of institutions and documented how bad some of these places are.
There's a lot of research done that institutions further disable a child and stunt not only their physical growth but also psychological growth. And when you're there, you can easily see that. You see, a baby will not interact with the world unless the world interacts with the baby. And I think it's bad not only for people who are in the orphanages, but also for the staff members. Like they are all get tangled in a system that strips a lot of human traits from both sides. You cannot really say how bad they are until you see them, until you are there, because these are dark places. I think sometimes it's as a prison or even worse than a prison.
Andrei, the boy we met earlier, was left in one of those dark places to die. He was lucky. He was rescued by volunteers who forced their way into his room. Now, his story is one of hope. Natasha was one of the nurses who helped him recover in hospital. She's now his foster mother.
You have such a lovely relationship with Andrew. It's quite wonderful.
Дитинка особлива, ну я його дуже люблю, дуже сильно люблю. І не тільки я, ми всі любимо його. І я думаю, ви також його дуже полюбите. Його неможливо любити. От і так сталося, полюбили його з першого погляду. От він був дуже в тяжкому стані, то неможливо було його лишити. Як? Я лишилася, думала там 2 недільки, поки він трошки виздоровіє. От. А потім так склалося, що він лишився з нами до сих пір.
He seems like a different boy with you now. And are you proud of the progress that he's made?
Це Андрійкова заслуга. Він дуже сильний, Андрійко, дуже сильний хлопчик. От. І він дуже розумний, він сам по собі розвивається, а ми любов даємо і піклуємося про нього, щоб він ситий був, одягнений, щоб чистенький був.
Natasha is desperate to keep Andrei, but his future is still uncertain.
Take Andrew, who we met. He's with a present family now, but they are looking for international adoption for him. Does that concern you, the fact that there are no services, there might not be a solid family for him, that he's going to have to be adopted abroad?
We won't have Ukrainian family, but we understand it's very hard to find. Not because we have not enough loving family, but we have a lack of services. And that's why maybe it will be better for him to find international family. As for me, yeah, it's not good feelings. We need support. I'm talking with international organization and with different governments of different countries about support for Ukraine. Because no one country, Poland, Bulgaria, Romania and the other countries didn't do this themselves.
With thousands of disabled children and young people in need, finding a loving family is not an easy task. Nick was one of those who dreamt of a different life. In desperation, and with a bit of government help from Nikolai Kaleba, he used social media to find an adoptive family. And the video went viral. Eventually, after a life spent hidden away in an institution, the 23-year-old got what he wanted.
Чесно, мені досі пір аж не вірити, що вже нарешті є сім'я. Скільки років мріяв про це. Сім'я допомагає, є себе підтримка, любов. Маленьке хазяйство, там кролів, качки, там кури. Навіть на руках тримав. Я ніколи, в інтернеті такого не було в мене, що тебе є більше можливостей, я можу кудись поїхати, хочу вчитися, якось самостоятельним бути, що не тільки щоб батьки допомагали, а якось вже самому старатися робити.
Here in Ukraine, I've met parents who have fought to keep their children out of institutions. Alexander and his wife have an apartment on the 3rd floor with no lift. They've adapted their life in order to raise their son. Sasha is now setting up her own centre. She wants to help other disabled children. And Andrei is finally getting the love he needs. For now.
Це такі класні діти, яких треба дуже любити, і вони дуже люблять людей, дуже.
But I've also met children and adults who have no one.
There's still that acceptance that if you have a child that's got a disability, it's fine to go into an institution. So whilst the government will be putting forward plans, inclusive education, smaller residential places for disabled people, that's going to take time. But it's not just that. It's also changing attitudes. Society has to change. It can't just be thought that, okay, you have a disabled child, you're going to go into an institution and that be accepted. And the people that we met, they stick with me, they stick in my head, because no matter how many plans are made and how much change happens, when those people are never going to see anything other than those 4 walls or different variations of those 4 walls, that's going to be their life.